There's a lot of cool stuff happening in 2018. I think this is the sort of the time of year where like there's no good news, there's nothing exciting happening. You get like a handful of teasers. Like I think the Incredibles 2 Twitter put up like a funny like a teaser image of like Toast. We're getting like a Wreck-It Ralph sequel.
We got a Slender Man trailer on IGN
yeah, we got
right now.
that's huge. But it's kind of cool to like take a look at what is happening in 2018 and like get excited about it. So the big question is, what are you looking forward to this year?
Yeah, I had this sort of realization this morning, actually. I saw one of those things, I think IGN tweeted out, like, the biggest games of 2018. And I was like, man, 2018 is going to be really cool. I can't wait for that year to start. And I was like, we're in it. Those things are happening now.
Yeah.
Most will get delayed, probably. But that's why you got to also look forward to movies, which rarely get delayed. So, I don't know. Let's talk about some of the things we're really hyped about this year.
Sure.
I think one of the big ones, you and I are both, like, really big Far Cry guys.
Yeah, that's. I mean, when I kind of stop and think about it, like that's one of my favorite franchises that I haven't fallen off of, or that it kind of isn't. It's pretty predictable. It's pretty consistent, kind of throughout. Far Cry 5 didn't initially really grab my attention.
Yeah.
I think the fact that it's in America, that's always been sort of almost this like game about like video game tourism, like you're going to a faraway land and exploring crazy environments, and they're like, hey, it's Redneck Rampage HD or whatever, and I was like, oh, that's fine, I guess. And then the more I hear about it and the more I see of this game, the more I am totally on board.
Right. I think they're doing just enough to sort of open up how weird and goofy this world is. Games Radar had a story the other day about a mini game or a side quest in this game where you basically go to a farm and you flamethrower a bunch of pigs and cows that are trying to have sex with each other, and you roast their testicles.
They're they're bad, like they're GMO pigs that have like steroids in them or something.
So for every time you look at this game and you're like, it's a serious take on the alt-right and where all this is moving in America right now, and it feels too real. There's going to be a lot of fantasy escapism nonsense in this game.
It's still going to be a Far Cry game.
I interviewed Dan Hay, the executive producer of this entire franchise, the other day for a show we're doing called Expert Mode. I can't wait to share that because he's got a really good way of sort of setting a chill down your spine, but also making you laugh about where this game can go. And for clarity, this game was pitched a long time before the Trump administration, before any of this stuff, before the Tiki Torch guys started coming out. This is sort of coming into fruition in the world we live in now. But he's been thinking about this sort of like doomsday prepper, Montana backhunt county stuff for a while now.
It's like Waco, Texas. That was like 25 years ago or something. But I'm excited about that. Also, like I think there's that kind of mentality, and we saw this a lot in the shift from like last generation to current gen of consoles, of them kind of like sort of just up-resing or putting over the PC version of like, I think Far Cry, was it Far Cry 4 was on both, or it was like very, very close, and it felt very, very samey. The fact that this has kind of been in the oven for like a proper 2 years since the last time we got a Far, which was Primal.
Right.
I think this is going to be like properly feel like a current gen, like very gorgeous, modern game. So
it feels odd that like Ubisoft made such a big deal of sort of stopping the Assassin's Creed franchise and then sort of rebooting it. But we haven't had a Far Cry game in just as long.
No.
This sort of feels like a brand new take on the franchise.
Yeah. Another big game coming out this month even, I believe it comes out on the 23rd, is Dragon Ball FIGHTERZ.
FIGHTERZ.
Dragon Ball. I kind of wish it was called Dragon Ball FighterZ. This is, of course, Arc System Works, the guys who did like BlazBlue. And this honestly just looks like Dragon Ball games come out pretty consistently. There are so many of them out there. I think there's something like 70. I could be crazy, but there's a lot of games out there for Dragon Ball. And we'll get like a cool like pixel art one for 3DS that comes out, and people, some people play it, some people jump on it. But to get one that people are this excited for is totally out of the ordinary. We had Xenoverse 1 and 2, which were cool. They kind of almost had this like, almost like a Destiny type of approach where there was like a hub area and it was online. You could play with your friends and do some fighting stuff. But to have like a return to form, here is a 2.5D fighting game. This is like the kind of thing that has enough of like a fighting game developer pedigree behind it. Like Arc System Works knows what they're doing in terms of making like solid, like you can play this at Evo kind of thing.
Right.
And I'm stoked about that because like, I don't know, these are characters I really care about, except for the Super ones. I'm behind on Super.
This is also like a kind of low-key, like one of the best looking video games ever made in terms of being so completely connected to the source material. It's the kind of thing that like when my friends were watching Dragon Ball on TV when I was a kid, if you walked in the room and showed us this game, like we would have cried and pooped our pants at the same time.
Oh yeah. No, it's nuts. Another big game coming out this year. We don't have a date for it yet. I'm hearing rumors of June 8th. There's some like release dates hovering around. The game is, of course, Red Dead Redemption 2. Rockstar, in typical Rockstar fashion, has been very tight-lipped about it. This game is going to be great, you know? Like, they have such an incredible track record. There's no universe in which this game comes out and people are like, meh, it's all right.
Right.
I mean, GTA 5, it's kind of insane. GTA 5 was still one of the best-selling games of 2017.
Right.
That game came out in 2013.
It's worth noting that Rockstar, obviously, as you know, probably undoubtedly the king of open world sandbox games. This is their first current gen game.
Yeah.
We haven't seen it.
No, exactly.
GTA 5 is a PS3 game running on PS4 and PC. Like that is a game built around last gen architecture. So this is something that is built for the current gen, which is, you know, gigantic and way bigger and more vast. And B, something that I think they will probably port to the next gen.
Yep.
So this is going to scale for years. It's going to grow for years. GTA Online became a monster sales force like we've never seen before.
Also, worth noting, if you go back and look at Red Dead 1 or Red Dead Redemption compared with GTA 5, the mission structure is very similar. And there were a lot of mechanics they kind of introduced in Red Dead Redemption without sort of the massive world that GTA 5 was.
Right.
They kind of prototyped GTA 5 in Red Dead Redemption. So if you want to get an idea of what GTA 6 is going to be like, this is a pretty good place to jump on.
Really good point.
Even if you hate cowboys, and if you do, what's wrong with you? They're great. They got huge hats. They ride horses all day. It's very exciting.
Max, I am vaguely fatigued on superhero movies. I still go see them all the time. They're always a great time, but they kind of just pass right through me. One of the ones that I had one of my favorite theater experiences with, probably because we snuck in booze and had a really good time,
God, yeah.
was Deadpool.
Oh, yeah.
And so what's up with Deadpool 2?
Deadpool 2, that's coming out this summer. It's interesting, the first Deadpool came out on Valentine's Day weekend, and it was kind of record-breaking in that sense, and I think everyone was expecting it to go really either way. It was Tim Miller's first directorial movie. It was like he'd made game trailers up until that point. We didn't know what was going to happen with this, and it's like, I think to this day it remains probably my favorite superhero movie if I had to pick one. I've also loved Deadpool since I was like 8, which is wholly inappropriate, but I don't know. I feel like they got it right, and I think they're in a very good spot to continue getting it right. And I mean, we get Josh Brolin as Cable. I think honestly, like I love the X-Men side of the Marvel universe, and it breaks my heart that they haven't quite nailed with the same like dedication that the MCU has with the rest of Marvel. I mean, if you love the X-Men movies, that's great, but like go read the comics. There could be so much more going on there. And I feel like Deadpool is actually the one that has come closest to get that feeling for it. And like they've got Cable with his like techno-organic virus on his neck, and they got Domino running around, and like Colossus is actually Colossus. So
yeah, and I don't.
It's funny. It's a funny movie.
I don't really want to use this platform to like give a big pat on the back to a marketing department, but they're kind of killing it with this movie. The teasers, the posters, the weird Thanksgiving paintings, the Bob Ross stuff, all of it has been really good. Seeing Cable multiple times from different angles and stuff like that has just been really sort of like convincing, you know. I sort of winced the first time I heard who was actually starring as Cable, and then because basically he's been multiple characters in comic
weird.
movies.
Yeah, that dude is double dipping hard right now.
Yeah.
I mean, he's Thanos and he's Cable. So
I mean, Ryan Reynolds is right next to him, you know.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of double dipping between these universes.
Yeah.
So who knows? Also coming out this year, this is kind of insane. We just got a Star Wars movie like 20 minutes ago.
Yeah. This next movie is something like 123 days away.
Yeah, Han Solo comes out April 18th, is it? Yeah.
So we're getting our next spin-off sort of side story, Solo, a Star Wars story, currently being directed by Ron Howard and starring, I can't say his name.
Alden Ehrenreich.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, Donald Glover as Lando, which is I think way cooler. But yeah, like it's kind of insane that this movie is this close and we don't know what it looks like. We don't know how it feels. Like I feel like this is sort of a testament to exactly how much faith Disney has in Star Wars to be like, just keep it under wraps.
My guess is we
maybe they're
absolutely
worried about it. I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. There's been some rumors about that too. I think I'm warming up to this movie a lot, and so in terms of like stories that absolutely need to be told in the Star Wars universe, I didn't feel like Rogue One was entirely necessary, although it turned out fine. I really want to know what Obi-Wan was doing for 40 years in the desert.
Just hanging out. Kicking it.
But Han Solo, I've never really wanted to know more about what he was like in high school. So
yeah, I mean, Yeah, I don't know. There's like, he's not exactly a mysterious character. So much of what makes him great is that he seems like he's sort of, I doesn't want to be there. You know, he just doesn't care. So
Well,
to kind of dig into that.
his entire arc
Yeah.
from being this kind of like aloof, mean, discrediting dude who shows up, who comes around and grows a heart by the end of the story in A New Hope, kind of tells everything you need to know about that character. That said, I am rapidly warming up to this, A, because it's more Star Wars, and B, because the stuff that Ron Howard's been tweeting out has been like really interesting and just enough that it sort of grabs me. Did you see his thing the other day of just like the inside of a ship?
Yeah.
And some gloves. And I'm like, cool. And there was that leaked Russian poster that was probably part of marketing. They showed off his jacket, which we also saw in leaked set photos. I like it. I like the idea of this like freshly minted Millennium Falcon with the weird blue stuff that we saw in Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah. Also, I mean, this is going to be set in a really interesting part of the kind of the Star Wars, saga. It's actually, I think it's 10 years after Revenge of the Sith and 10 years before A New Hope.
Interesting.
It's an area that if you look at kind of what's still canon and what's been explored, they haven't really gone near it. It's around Rebels, but it's a little bit, I think it's a little bit later or a little bit earlier. I forget which. You can look at the whole timeline online. But it's in a weird spot where we don't know what the galaxy looks like exactly. Like we don't know what the Empire is up to, how the Republic's doing, like what the vibe is. I mean, you watch Rogue One, and there's this. It's very similar to A New Hope or the original trilogy. And you watch the prequels, and it's all kind of things falling. And then the TV shows are kind of cartoony, so it's sort of hard to get a feel of exactly how things would look. But this is the first time we get a live-action movie that is directly between these trilogies. So,
question I have for you: R2D2 and C3PO have been in literally every single Star Wars movie. How does that work here?
I don't know. Maybe they have like bootleg ones, They
Maybe.
have like R2 and 3PO. Anyway, a movie that I've been looking forward to for a very long time, mostly out of curiosity, is ALITA Battle Angel or Battle Angel Alita, or if you follow anime, Ganmu. This isn't even like a popular anime manga series. This was one of the first series to get localized stateside, and James Cameron noticed it in the late 80s, early 90s, and has been saying since before Avatar that he wants to make a movie about this. Clearly the themes are things that he's explored before. It's got cyborg arms, which you may have seen him deal with in Terminator, and I guess Avatar to a lesser extent. And it's got a battle angel, which is sort of what Dark Angel was. It's a lot of similar themes for him. However, he's so busy making Avatar sequels and theme parks and whatnot that he handed this off to Robert Rodriguez, who did Sin City and Spy Kids and Shark Boy and Lava Girl and Desperado and a bunch of movies. And he's going to be he's directing this, and it looks interesting. It looks kind of crappy in a lot of ways. I hate her eyes. I think they're very strange.
I'm not a fan of her face, which is a mean thing to say. It's not real.
Yeah.
But everything else is like really interesting. You were saying before we started the show that this could sort of be like this year's Valerian in that it's kind of messy and it's rough around the edges, but it's stunning to look at and it's a nice afternoon at the theater.
I mean, what's screwed up about this, in the same way that Valerian, which was of course Luc Besson's massive sci-fi flop last year, the hype for the source material isn't there. Like even hardcore anime fans don't really jump on this movie because it's like, I dug into it because I was curious. I'm like, what's the deal with this? And I had to buy used copies of the manga because it doesn't exist officially out there.
Wow.
Well,
hopefully they fix that before the movie comes out.
You'd think so, wouldn't you? But yeah, I mean, it's not like if they were like, hey, we're making a Dragon Ball Z movie. Everyone knows what that is. Here it is. I mean, they already did that kind of. Let's forget about that one. I could see this going either way. I think it's going to be interesting to look at the very least, because clearly they are throwing a lot of money at it. That's coming out, I think, in July. It's in the middle of the summer, though, which is promising. In the meantime, though, as far as faithful adaptations that involve CG-driven characters, Paddington 2, Paddington the Bear is back at it again.
He's back.
Coming out.
He's hanging out with that family.
He's going to jail.
He's gonna
get
that
in trouble.
house.
God, I love that bear. We love that. So
that movie is a great film. You guys should go watch.
We do this like pretty much every other week, but really, that first one is a very good film. It's actually a good movie. It's not just like we're hyping it up ironically. We're kind of doing that too because we're like adult men who like watch funny bear comedies. But that's a good movie. You can go on Rotten Tomatoes. That's got like a 98%. They're going to put that movie on the Criterion Collection. That's a good film. It's a good movie. They're going to teach it in schools about how to make good movies about bears. Peter Rabbit, you're on thin ice. I don't know how I feel about you being voiced by James Corden. That looks a little bit too trying to be edgy.
There's probably a scene in that movie where he's on thin ice.
Probably. I don't know.
But no, Paddington is wonderful. It's not just like, oh, it's a good kids movie. It's a great kids movie for adults too.
Yeah.
It's also stunning. Like it looks like, I It looks like Fantastic Mr. Fox or something.
Yeah,
like that.
no, I mean, it has a very heavy like Wes Anderson vibe. That part is gross. I hate that part.
That's
when he
not
puts
good.
The things in it. Oh, he's getting all kinds of food.
God.
Oh, disgusting bear. But yeah, like it's kind of cool. I think that because Paddington is this like iconic, like British character. I feel like this movie's like subsidized. Like it's kind of produced by, and it's like, oh, like let's get everybody in the UK on board, and they get all these like famous, wonderful actors. You got Jim Broadbent there as the weird like Dutch antique store owner, and I don't know, Peter Safaldi's in there. There's a bunch of like wonderful actors, and it's just charming.
There's also the bear.
The bear is fabulous.
Look what he does. He gets the cream on the window and makes that man
he's
mad.
doing the nasty thing. Anyway, go see the Paddington 2 in theaters. I think it's January 22nd.
Yeah, we got invited to a press screening, but it was 11 a.m. on a Saturday, and we had to work on Comedy Button stuff that day, and I was like kind of bummed about it. Like I really want to go see that bear movie with Max, just get like day drunk or something like that,
Yeah,
hang out.
that's the sort of thing we do.
Get arrested afterwards, tell the cops that we were in jail because we went to go see Paddington 2.
Just stop. We're gonna get in trouble.
No, man, I want to get in trouble after the film.
What are you looking forward to in 2018? Let us know in the comments, and if you want to see us talking about how much we like Cable's costume in Deadpool 2, we made a video about that, as well as a bunch of movies from 2017 that we really like that you might have missed. Check those out and watch Up at Noon every Thursday at noon Pacific time on IGN. That's Deadpool. Oh my God, it's me! I actually didn't know they were doing that. That's kind of odd.